Hello, welcome to Netflix Landfill, the official podcast of eating way too much meat. I'm Benjamin Sutton.
I'm Rob Flood.
What? Why do you keep leaving such a long pause?
I no, that was you fucked up. The audio was like the network connection fucked up. So you sped up as soon as you finished. I said on my end, I'm sorry, but that's how the internet works.
No,
This is
it's
a
not.
rude. It's such a rude welcome back.
The internet is faster than the speed of light.
Yeah.
It should come through instantly. The reason we've not recorded in a while is because I've not had internet in this. I've moved flat, so I've not really had good internet. Now got good internet, so it should be fucking rapid. So you shouldn't.
Yeah.
You should hear me speak before I hear me speak.
Yeah. Oh man, that'd be great. Just I don't know, telekinesis your thoughts into my brain, basically through the power of the internet.
Well,
Fantastic.
That is the thing. It's like if you stand at the bottom of Big Ben, you listen to like the radio to listen to like the dongs. What's the official word? But from Big Ben, it's you hear it on the radio before you hear it from the actual bell. So it could be like that. Speed of light versus speed of sound. Yeah, well, it's just because going through the radio is going at the speed of light. But
if you're in a particular kind of
distance
from
just even at the bottom of the tower. Like you'll hear it through the radio quicker than before you hear it from the actual bell.
Yeah.
Physics, mate. Physics.
Damn, man.
Who knew? Who knew? How are you doing anyway, Rob?
I'm doing okay. So, I had a bit. I got fucking I got fucking nicotine poisoning since I last saw you.
What?
So those fucking like Zyn, those so there's these like you saw me use them.
Yeah, I saw you
like,
chewing nicotine gum.
Yeah.
But not because you're addicted to smoking.
No, it's not nicotine gum. It's an entirely different thing. It's like it's like chewing tobacco, but like nicotine and fresh and and it's all Swedish and Scandinavian. I was like, I had a friend who had them, and he was just like, yeah, they're fun. Who gives a fuck? And I was like, yeah, that's something I can get behind. And I was walking through fucking Sainsbury's, pretty drunk, pretty twisted, and I thought, yeah, this is pretty funny. I'm gonna buy them. And then when I started drinking again, when you were here, I was like, yeah, let me pop one in, whilst watching Eric Andre's fucking reality prank film, whatever the fuck it was.
Bad trip.
Yeah, bad trip. I had a bad trip.
You had a bad trip like, on nicotine gum.
I had one, and nicotine pouch, man. I'm not going to explain it again.
It's you chew it. Do you swallow it?
No.
Yeah, do you chew it?
It's in a
bag. Don't swallow it. It's gum. It's chewing gum.
No, but it's not chewing gum. I disagree. It's like if you're chewing on a tea bag. It's like a tea bag of nicotine. That's what it is. But yeah, I had two of these, and like, but just after you left, I cannot begin to describe how fucking terrible I felt. Like, I was like feeling tired or whatever, and then towards the end, like my fingers started getting numb. I had like tingly, like my legs felt weird. My like I had an upset stomach for like 2 days on two of these, and these are like the low nicotine. It's the equivalent of smoking like fucking. It was the equivalent of smoking like 4 cigarettes across 2 hours, and
I guess that's quite a lot if you're a non-smoker.
I smoke occasionally. I wouldn't say I smoke cigars. I very occasionally smoke cigars, and like I haven't had that problem. So I don't know if it was just like the like lemon and lime flavoring fucked me up or something, or however it worked. But yeah, I just felt like an absolute pussy. I felt like when you get like if you like discover your 13-year-old child smoking and you force them to smoke an entire packet of cigarettes until they feel shit. I felt like I've learned that lesson at 26 years old after having 2 cigarettes. I feel like such an unfathomable pussy.
Imagine actually doing that
Like,
to your
I
kid.
just- Yeah, I think I'd do it to my kid. I feel like I think that's the right level of lesson to like
Yeah.
make them sick.
Harming your kid is fine if they learn a lesson.
Yeah. Yeah, I
But-
mean, a little.
That is pathetic. You know that's pathetic, right?
I know it's
Getting
I know it's
nicotine,
absolutely.
yeah.
I threw it out. I was like, I can't. I'm zin sick. I'm fucking. I can't handle the zin, the zine, whatever the fuck it is. The Swedish fucking lied to me, man. It's
Look,
all Scandinavian and fresh air.
I don't drink alcohol because I'm a pussy, and even I think you're a bit of a pussy.
Yeah. But I'm also enjoying a lovely, refreshing lager beer.
That's just offensive.
So
I'm on orange and pineapple squash in a Sports Direct
man.
mug because I just don't give a fuck about horrible capitalistic tendencies.
yeah.
It's like Sports
Anyway,
Direct.
how are you living in your hovel? I've heard that they they beat their workers. I don't know, something like that.
Oh, they just sort of underpay them, and there's like they don't give them proper breaks. So there's a story of like someone was so scared of like losing their job, instead of getting time off, they worked like whilst they were pregnant, and they gave birth in like the stock room.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and you don't get
That's-
like toilet breaks and stuff.
Oh my god. That's fucking yeah. You hear about like Amazon workers like pissing in bottles and stuff. So I don't know if in the Sports Direct warehouse there's pissing in massive Sports Direct mugs.
I reckon it's way better at Amazon than it is at Sports Direct.
Yeah.
Just because there'll be
It could
like
be. I've no idea of the relative like.
Amazon put out those adverts that are clearly propaganda of people working in their warehouse, and it looks great. So who am I to think that Amazon
Yeah.
would lie to me? But I think
Yeah. Do you see the fucking? Did you see that they had a patent? They put through a patent for like a. You know, there's like robots whizzing around the thing. Have you seen those videos where they have the robots in the warehouse that like pick up the boxes? They're kind of like Roombas, but then they can kind of elevate their bodies off the ground.
I don't think I
Pick up
have.
the
No.
boxes from a. Oh, okay. Well, they have these robot things and have these robot tracks, and for like they basically patented sort of a human rideable one of those, but it's a cage. It's a cage on wheels with a joystick, 2 joysticks, one to like control it around, and one that operates like a fucking like a claw from it, so you can pick things up and work. Just the idea of going to the Amazon warehouse to get into your fucking cage for a 10-hour shift or whatever. I don't know if there's anything more soul crushing than that. I don't
Just
think they
piss
actually
in the
exist yet,
cage.
but just someone was thinking, yeah, oh no, then you have to stay in the cage.
That's the price to pay.
But just the idea of, oh man.
That's what the future's
I
going to
know
be.
what,
It's going to be people controlling robots to do it, and then eventually the AI gets good enough where we don't need people to control it.
Yeah, I mean, who knows if that'll happen? I'm skeptical. I'm not putting all my money on Elon Musk just yet.
Nah, do it.
Yeah.
He loves. Has he done? He feels like must have done something crazy recently. You're more in tune with it than I am.
Not really. I don't know if he's done anything crazy. He Neuralink, one of his companies, released a video of a monkey playing ping pong with their mind. Oh, not ping pong, pong. The like thing. Yeah. And like, you know, he had the monkey like sucking on a tube of like blended banana and learning how to use his mind to control like a cursor on a screen. and then playing a bit of Pong.
That's cool. Or is it? Or does that mean
And
the apes are about to take over?
fucking, I don't know, it could be Planet of the Apes. A guy fucking, he like the scientist is watching and he pairs the like Neuralink thing is Bluetooth enabled, so he pairs his phone to the monkey's brain. It's just as a sentence that's like, what? And now we pair our phone to the monkey's brain, to the cerebral cortex of this simian. And and just watches it. Yeah, just plays Pong.
See, I love shit like that. And like people always like, oh, it's too Black Mirror. But like, what if it just goes right? What if it is just a bloody good laugh?
Yeah, what if it works out?
Yeah.
Like, what if the fucking simulation or the singularity happens and we just upload our minds to the cloud and life's fucking grand? That is a possibility.
Exactly.
It could happen.
Well, this is my like I've done stand up about it. I've like of like literature and storytelling in terms, especially in terms of science, is that if you just tell a story where it all goes right, it's not an interesting story. But the problem is the people writing a cautionary tale, Jurassic Park.
Oh,
maybe we shouldn't play God. And we all know Jurassic Park. There was just it was.
Your mic keeps cutting out.
Oh fuck! No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it did then, but I bet it doesn't. It might do. I think I need a new mic.
Start again. You were stand up. You were doing stand up about how everything goes right. It isn't a good story.
Yeah, I'm not gonna edit. I can't be asked to edit this. Who gives a fuck?
We're back in it. Netflix Landfill, man.
Yeah, but
oh man.
just Jurassic Park, Frankenstein. These people don't know shit. Mary Shelley can get in the bin.
The thing about the monkey though that was kind of weird was that like the what was making the cursor move was he was like holding a joystick, and like he learns to control the cursor with the joystick, and then they unplug the joystick, and like the Neuralink learns that like, oh, these are the neurons that fire when the monkey moves the lever upwards. So that's what up is. And same for down, same for left, same for right. But it isn't making like a particularly convincing case that this is necessary when like the monkey is just controlling an unplugged joystick. It's like, it's a lot of effort to have surgery on a monkey's brain, and so far, like, you can achieve the exact same thing by just plugging in the joystick. That's how far they've gotten with it. So maybe it's a while yet before we hit the singularity.
What happens if you do just start playing Spotify in the monkey's brain?
Yeah, I don't know. Play a bit of Last Ketchup. Watch the monkey go crazy.
Yeah. I said, hey, hey. No, we'll get sued if I do that.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of animals, fish are animals? Maybe, kind of. I don't know.
That was a horrible segue.
Yeah, it's good enough.
It's good enough. I mean, admittedly, it's good enough, and we should start talking about Seaspiracy. But I just want to let you know that was horrible.
Yeah.
We could have.
Why? Because they aren't animals.
We had the opportunity with Sports Direct and Amazon to go with the whole animals. Fucking half of everything is an animal. I mean, that's not true, but it could be.
Could be true. Yeah, man. What did you think of Seaspiracy, the Netflix original documentary examining the effects of overfishing? And just how fishing is shit generally. How it's generally shit for the people fishing, for the fish that are fished, and for the fish that aren't supposed to be fished but are fished.
Yeah, so I think we sort of have talked about it but I think my views are the same as yours. Been like, this is a really interesting topic that I don't know a lot about, with some interesting stuff in there. But I fucking hate the documentary, just because the main guy seems like such a smarmy, up his own arse cunt. And like, yeah, humans doing massive damage to the planet, massive damage to the ocean. I'm like, I'm on your side, mate, but you just seem like a prick.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm basically on the same boat. The like I think it's interesting from kind of two levels. It's kind of interesting from like or like I'd say three levels. It's interesting as a I learned, like I wouldn't say I knew fishing was bad. I knew like fucked up things happened. I have a friend in the Navy, so I knew like illegal fishing was a thing, was bad, all this stuff. However, it is good to have it all sort of collected and coalesced into like a single 1.5 hour thing, and you sort of, it has a narrative and it makes sense. It's interesting from that level. It's interesting kind of as like kind of propaganda, where it's like there are definitely things missing from it. Like, despite the emphasis on like fishing and fisheries and stuff like that, they don't interview a fisheries scientist. And so there's people who claim that like, yeah, no, don't worry, we've got this shit under control. And like there are papers and journals and stuff that publish in this area, and they're just nowhere to be seen. Like someone who could defend sort of sustainable fish shipping or anything just doesn't appear. And so it's interesting there. And then it's also kind of interesting from like, this idea of like having a point and just fucking it up with the way you present it. And just how there's this kind of I think you can apply this to a lot of things. How a lot of people feel like they're sort of they're morally correct about a certain topic, and I think they feel like morally strongly about something, and so they are just willing to lie or just be a kind of a bit of a dick or cunt to like mold things into this narrative. And when things, they don't really maybe fully line up, and it kind of causes this disconnect. But I think it's kind of obvious to anyone else like looking outside in. But I don't know how obvious it is to Ali, the director, that like, I suppose we'll talk about this in just in sequence because it touches on a few things. But like the interview sections in this are like, I don't know how anyone could watch some of these interviews and not go like, oh, there's like a hack job. Like these interviews are hack jobs. Like they're like extremely leading questions, extremely obviously edited, pared down, like extremely unflattering to the and like just like very obviously unfair on the people being interviewed. In just with the exception of maybe one woman who kind of freaks out a little, but yeah, and so it's on those like levels. It's kind of it was interesting, but then it also made me mad a little.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where like, so I get so Ali's, is it Ali the name of like the narrator, is like director, documentarian kind of thing, where because it's the problem with it is it's not like him going in as an unbiased person trying to find out things, being like, hey, fishing's interesting, isn't it? Let's find out more. The documentary starts with him like calling up someone, essentially like he's wearing a t-shirt that says straws in like the Jaws font
shirt, yes.
Yeah, with like plastic in the ocean and stuff, whilst he rings up I can't remember who he rings up, but some like fast food person. It's just just some poor girl on the phone being like, hello, and he's just like, you're fucking disgusting for using plastic straws, and she hangs up. And he's like, what the fuck? Why would they hang up on me? I was just like,
exactly.
Because you're being an asshole.
That sort of thing happens frequently. There's like there's another moment where he just walks into a building and is like, yeah, can we even interview him? I'm doing a thing on overfishing and I want to talk to you guys. And they're like, no, we don't. It was in Japan, and he's like talking to someone who's like, I imagine English is like their second language, and they're like, you don't grant interviews to anyone, and they were like, no, and he's like, how fucking, and it's, you know, presented like, oh my god, they don't do interviews with anyone, how fucking crazy is that? But it's like, I think it's just a Japanese woman. I think it's just a Japanese woman who maybe didn't fully understand what you said. Like,
yeah. So it's like, because obviously they're focused on like Japan and East Asia and stuff. So when they're speaking like broken English and things, it's quite easy to be like, say, well, they were clearly just being a dick when they probably just didn't understand what you were saying.
Yeah. So the film it starts with. It starts with talking about plastic in the oceans, and it's focusing on that. And it's sort of, he tries to present himself as an unbiased sort of how, oh, I was focusing on plastic in the oceans and I stumbled onto this. But I think that's just, it's very obviously, there are very obvious lies in this thing as well, like to do with the narrative, to do with the idea of being followed and things like that, are just, they're very obviously lies. Like, it's not, you know, there's the actual content of the fishing information appears more factual, although there are things that are definitely wrong. But in terms of, yeah, like, but then, so it starts with plastic, then he's like, oh, but there's whales showing, being fished up or being washed up with stomachs full of plastic. But through this, I started thinking about the whaling industry in Japan. And so I go over to Japan where there's this little cove where they herd a bunch of dolphins in, and whales maybe as well, and kill them. And this sort of starts the like, just like lies sort of about the general narrative where there's like the police pull them over, and it's presented as like, oh, like the police will follow you. He talks to a guy from some hippie vegan group, and they're like, the Yakuza will have cameras on you. They'll put cameras in your hotel room. They'll put cameras in your television. You're watching television, there's a camera in there. I was like, this is clearly like the BBC talks about this thing, like just obviously fucking bullshit. Like, you know, my first world country, Japan, like they don't give a fuck. The Japanese just do not give a fuck what the world has to say about. Yeah, like this is just like this is obviously bullshit, and so they get pulled over, and it's like clearly supposed to be, you know, trying to feed into this narrative. But the guys are just asking like, "Can we have your information? This is a rental. Okay, cool. You're on holiday. Okay, cool. Okay, go on." And that's it. And that's supposed to sort of feed this like conspiracy theory. They're recording from like a bunch of bushes, and they're like, because the police was, you know, the police are following us, man. The police are following us. Well, there's not. Like, they're just not. You just show nothing that like even vaguely is evidence that you're being followed. You're just sort of throwing this out there, and so it's like that stuff. Even though, like, I don't know how much point there is in murdering a bunch of dolphins. The film claims that they don't eat dolphin. They do eat dolphin in Japan. They eat like all seafood in Japan. You can get anything there, and they do eat dolphin. So that's bullshit. But it's just like, why? Like, just all this stuff around it is just obvious lies, and it sort of really, really dilutes from the main point, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, I could definitely be sympathetic to, you know, they're killing a bunch of dolphins. Oh, that seems kind of shit, a little. But just working all this stuff in, afterwards they go to a dockyard, and they're like crouching behind a corner taking pictures like, oh my god, this is just a regular dockyard. We thought we were going to a super secret one, but this is actually just catching bluefin tuna, what? And he's like crouching down, hidden. It's like, there's workers like walking past, seeing you. You're just fucking lying. You're just fucking lying about like how secretive and just some god kid running around the dockyard. Imagine being a Japanese fisherman and seeing that shit. Just like, oh, you shouldn't have to put up with that sort of bullshit.
That would have been a better documentary. It's like we said this about Bad Trip as well. It'd be more interesting to watch them like film it than the actual thing itself.
Yeah, like if what happens in this film is like true, like there's so much more interesting stuff about just general corruption in the fishing industry. Not like so much about the fishing itself, but the corruption and the governance of it. But they just show nothing that even comes close to it. There's one point where they claimed like we're being followed, and they just show like a montage of like policemen like walking down the street, just cars like driving past them. You know, police cars like not even with their sirens on, or just driving past, and then like a guy like walking behind a door, like seeing that he's on camera and just going like, oh fuck, I don't want to be recorded, and just walking out of frame. And that's like their evidence that like, yeah, we're being followed by the fucking whatever the Japanese CIA is. They're on our fucking case right now.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But it's the sort of thing, even if that were all true, right, it's like such a weird thing for me to kind of be sympathetic to your cause, but me almost want to go the other way just because I hate you so much.
Yeah.
And I don't really eat fish, not through moral things. I just have that thing where I don't like eating fish. So, but my flatmate as well is like pescatarian and saw me watch like the end of it. So he doesn't eat meat, he only eats fish, and he was just like, this fucking guy. Because my flatmate is like, it says he's vegetarian, but eats like loads of fish. And also says he's vegetarian. He's like, we've got mice in our flat because it's Edinburgh. And he's just like obsessed with like killing these mice. So, and like, they're not even that bad. The reason we have mice is because he's a brewer and he left a bag of grain in a cupboard, and then was like, I can't believe
medieval reason for having mice.
I can't believe we've got mice in Edinburgh when I left a bag of grain in my cupboard. And then like he did that, and then was like hired a guy who had a shotgun license to kill these mice. I was just
with
like,
the shotgun.
No.
Oh man!
Imagine.
Well, you mentioned he had the shotgun license.
He was just so excited he had a shotgun license. I was like, why?
I would be.
Why does a pest controller in Edinburgh need a shotgun license? So this guy arrived, because I was at home, and he's just like, he's in like stained beige fleece, like stained beige joggers, but then like brand new pristine Nike Air Maxes, which is just a look I respect.
Drip, man.
But he just scared me. I found him a scary man. He just like said, "Oh,
he kills for a living."
I know.
Of course.
He does kill for a living, but he said, do I have to wear a mask? And it's like, it's probably fine. And he was like, "Oh, you're a bloody legend." I'm like, this guy's definitely QAnon conspiracy guy. He just looked the part.
Yeah, man. I don't know. It feels like the mask orthodoxy is, at least in my, I don't know, is dying out a little. At least from what I've observed from going to my Tesco and my Sainsbury's, I see more people just being like, I mean, fuck it, and just walking in completely barefaced. Maybe they might be vaccinated or something, and they're just like, I don't care or whatever. But from an outsider's perspective, you don't know who's vaccinated or not.
Yeah.
So it just looks like more people are just kind of not giving a fuck and just walking in.
In big shops, I think people are still doing it in things, but in the corner shop, I think no one cares.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just the thing. I think that's the whole thing with this documentary, is just that super biased kind of thing. Would they make really? There is some interesting points in there, and then it ends with like some quacks.
Well, I don't know if I'd call them quacks, but it ends with an advertisement. It ends with an advertisement for a seafood vegan product for like a mock seafood product. If you saw that.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, it ends with just like basically like him going to this lab and just this like company is getting like free advert. There's something that in like a sort of an actual documentary would be seen as like really bad. Just walk into it, just sort of give a company sort of free publicity, like they're making vegan products. Yeah, but a-okay by this documentary standards.
But there's the guy who's like he wrote How Not to Die and was just like eating, and it's just like so biased.
He's like, eating fish will kill you.
Yeah,
it will fucking, you'll die of mercury poisoning 100%.
But again, there's no like rival dietitian and things. It only presents one view and pass it off as facts, and you sort of read around it, and there's no, there is, especially with like science around that kind of thing with biological stuff, there is often debate around these things, and a fish do have mercury, but the level in a different species of fish varies so wildly.
Yeah. Like it can be tested for mercury, and isn't there mandatory mercury testing?
Almost certainly.
Like I'm 99% sure there is.
I like, especially in like Britain and Europe. Maybe things change with the Tories. Just like, what is safety? A little bit, but like Britain's food standards, I think, are pretty damn good. Like it's pretty hard to get like sick from meat. Yes. And stuff in the UK.
The rate of food poisoning in America is something like 100 times higher than like any other Western country. But like the standards are pretty good in the Western world, except for America.
Yeah, I imagine most of Europe, it's like the EU law will be pretty good on that kind of thing. Because like that's the thing with like, I guess Europe is like there's been plagues for centuries where it's like people died. Oh, maybe we should not eat raw meat or drink water that's green and stuff like that.
Yeah. The guy, did you know when some guy like worked out that like this was in like the 15th century, maybe 16th century, I don't know, a while back, hundreds of years ago, some guy, I think a British guy, discovered that so a lot of women were dying in childbirth and like dying from infections after childbirth. And some guy discovered like, oh, hey, if you wash your hands, doctors, this doesn't happen. And doctors like took it as like, they got like offended by it. They were like, oh, it's our fault because our hands aren't clean enough. And so they just refused to do it. I don't know, just in terms of like safety stuff, and I don't know.
Oh, that's
remind me of that story.
Is sort of a good point of like it like applies studies on like an anti-vaxxers. Like the way you get through to them is you don't just come into it with a superiority complex and be like, I'm better than you, so do this, which is kind of the problem with this documentary, where you can it's a pretty strong argument, they're right about a lot of the things they talk about, but just to do it in such a way it like bristles your feathers and things.
Exactly.
You're like, actually no, I am gonna fucking eat a fish. And I go down to a pond now, I'm gonna rip a goldfish out of the water and I'm gonna snort it up my nostrils.
Yeah, I saw one of the guys in this one of the guys interviewed. He was like, okay, people have problems with the tone of the film, but is there anything wrong with the facts of it? And it's like, well, yes, there's a few things. There's things that are bullshit. They say that like the oceans will be empty by 2048, and that's just like a bullshit study. The authors of the study were like, oh no, we fucked this up. This is wrong. Ignore what they said and like publish later study. Like it's wrong. And there's other things that are like highly misleading, like just sort of like really, really misleading like that. But like the idea that you can't criticize, and this is something you hear in other places, the idea that you can't criticize tone, like exactly for the reason that you said. Like tone is literally everything to do with an argument that isn't like just the actual like factual content of it. That's what tone is. Tone's everything else. And so the idea that like that it's beyond criticism. It's like, no, people will tune out your argument. You know, if you want to get your point across to people, doing it in this sort of the sort of annoying way this film does is like bad. For like, I'm sure there's a lot of people who were convinced by it, and I suppose that's kind of good. It's kind of good if you see through the tone, in a way. But you know, I saw like the New York Times had like a pretty fucking critical article being like, this guy's fucking, just fuck this guy.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I mean, that's the problem, is like, yeah, people sort of, that, because they really do. This guy clearly wants to change people's opinions and things, which, you know, is a noble cause, and I don't agree with everything about it, but like, there is good stuff in there. There's interesting stuff in there, but you're just gonna put people off. And I showed you that, like because Prince Philip's died this week, and then just people like celebrating. And I showed you the Eric Andre meme of him shooting Hannibal, of just like, and it's this common thing with the left. It's like, why does everyone keep voting Conservative? I don't understand. What's up with these fucking racist bigots? And I'm like, that's why they're not voting for you, because you keep calling them racist bigots.
Yeah, I have to say I agree with what you just said there, but I did not vibe with the, as a staunch anti-royalist, I did not vibe.
Well, yeah,
pro. But of course, that's the anti-royal. It goes down better in Ireland, I think.
Yeah, but like that's the thing, is like, being anti-royal is a pretty valid like thing to be. Like, it's, you know, should be massively questioned that we just let this family born into wealth and privilege somehow have power inside our country. Like, that's mental. Like, if you look at it from the face of it, like, that should be criticised. But then celebrating like Philip's death isn't going to change royalists' minds, is the thing.
Yeah.
So there's just a huge issue with like tone and stuff. One of the other like criticisms of it, although I think you can make an argument this is a bit harsher, but I think it still stands up, is like, there's a lot of stuff it sort of misses out. And I think, especially because a lot of the focus is on East Asia, but then trying to like change habits of the West, but there's not a lot of stuff about fishing in the West, apart from like salmon farms in Scotland. So it kind of like is like, don't eat fish because of Japanese whailer's, which like,
that does. Yeah, one thing that was highlighted was that I thought was good was talking about how like European and Chinese. They don't mention the Chinese, but it's European and Chinese fishing is subsidized off the coast of Africa. I thought it was a good point, and how that this sort of it fucks up the African fishing industry and all this stuff. But one thing that, you know, it's the sort of thing that you think that would be worth mentioning, because I know it's obvious, but like, this is the result of trade agreements. It's not like they're just going in and fishing. It's because like the governments of these countries have like explicitly allowed this to happen. And so there's a mention of like, oh, it's the plundering of the African continent or whatever still. But it feels like, it just doesn't feel like that's so much a fishing issue in a way. Like, it's a point and it's tangential, but it feels like more of a, like, you know, economic kind of criticism. That are like a broader of like trade agreements between rich and poor countries, and that's interesting and doesn't really touch on it or go in it deeper. So it just feels like this very surface level, the Europeans are coming in here and they're fucking fishing, and fuck them. Instead of like this more, I don't know, it's more interesting that way, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're probably, like, I know I am someone who sort of craves nuance and interesting argument, but I don't think that sells. And you know, the thing is with this documentary, it's been widely watched, very popular, and even if the tone and stuff is criticised, it probably has like cut through and stuff like that. But yeah, the other thing with like China as well is like China like puts a lot of money to Africa.
Yeah. And this is what they get out of it, is this sort of thing, these
yeah,
faithful trade agreements. And also, you know,
yeah, it's like soft power.
Africa will be the new China, in the sense that, from our perspective, in the sense that, like, it will no longer have made in China stuff in, like, I'd say 20 years, 30 years. It'll be made in Nigeria, made in Kenya, made in Sierra Leone, wherever.
So yeah, like China's building loads of like just helping governments build infrastructure there, you know, which is partly because possibly China wants to have friends for when they inevitably go full
I think it's 'cause,
crazy.
I think it's because they know that transition's happening, and so they kind of want a peaceful passover to it, of like, we're no longer going to be the cheapest, we're no longer going to be the cheapest country to make it in. You know, their standard of living is skyrocketing, going massively, due to their policies and stuff. And they're just aware that, like, when we're passing the baton, we better be friends.
Yeah.
So that sort of thing.
And
the one thing that, sorry, just to get back to the film more directly. Yeah. One thing that really fucking annoyed me is that he's like, what is sustainable fishing? What is sustainable? What does that mean? What does that mean? What are you talking about? And it's, and then he has like he goes to the European Union, to some like Greek guy, and the Greek guy explains in like a dumb shit, like, oh, I'm explaining this to a 10-year-old's child analogy. Like, imagine you're in a bank and your money earns interest. And if you only spend interest, that is sustainable. Once you spend capital, that is no longer. And the guy's like, walks away, like, and that's what the definition of like sustainable is that fishing. That's the term. That's like basically the definition they use. And the guy walks away from that meeting having it been explained in like dumb shit moron terms. Like, there's just no definition. There's just no definition whatsoever. It doesn't exist. I was like, so there's moments like that where like the rhetoric of the film fails. Like, it kind of, like if you're paying attention and you aren't a fucking moron, you go like, what the fuck? What? what the fuck are you saying? You just had someone explain it to you.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I guess, yeah, it is kind of like interesting with. It would have been interesting to like. That's just. I feel like the socio-political stuff that's left out with like that focus on East Asia. One thing I will say is when they talk about the like prawns, in what country is it in? Is it Thailand or Myanmar or somewhere? And just where the guy was like, "You've heard of blood diamonds, but now you've heard of blood shrimp," and I just burst out laughing.
It's like, you're a fucking
which
exactly.
is so funny. But yeah, that like. I've got
what you do, man.
I've got the Rozzers outside. Where I live, there's just like police cars and ambulances going past all the time. I mean, I heard a car crash just outside my window, and then the police arresting the guy, I think, for drunk driving. So just police cars everywhere.
Classic Scotland.
Yeah. It would have been more interesting to have like, especially when the guy's British, to talk about British fishing. And like, there's still, because it's like, I'd be more interested in like having scientists and experts also talk about like the salmon farming, been like, because like just having like one whistleblower is like, it's evidence and thing, but is it like, you still question like the legitimacy of it. But especially when like we just had Brexit, and considering it's like 0.01% of what Brexit was and our agreements with Europe was, we've heard so fucking much about fishing. And yet, for a British documentarian to then not talk about British fishing when it's been such a focus of Brexit just seemed a bit weird to me.
Mm-hmm. And there's especially like the EU trade agreement, what that actually means. But I think maybe maybe the reality is that the EU, I don't know. I did something, I did a bit of reading on whatever, but maybe the EU does keep things pretty wrapped up well. Like maybe EU fisheries are like sustainably managed, and it wouldn't really jive with the general arguments.
And
so instead,
that's kind of sort of my problem of part of the documentary is just like focusing on the worst of the worst, which is obviously Japan just not giving a shit, like chopping whales and dolphins to bits, which is fucking horrible. And like that scene where you kind of see it is fucking horrible. And that should be condemned, but it's one of the things of like saying, oh, you should go vegan because of this. I think it's like saying insert metaphor about, I don't know, but you know what I mean. It's like such an extreme example.
Yeah, and it is, especially because sort of what you were saying earlier. Like, there's a global. This film covers sort of it covers the globe, it covers everything, and yeah, it does feel like like what are the rates? So it talks about illegal fishing. Well, how much illegal fishing occurs in EU waters?
Yeah.
If I buy fish that I know comes from EU waters, what are the chances of it being illegal and a result of overfishing and like unsustainably fished? The film doesn't answer those questions, and if you want to say you should never fucking eat fish ever again, that's the sort of question that as a EU consumer, or a UK consumer, that sort of thing that I would need to see to like really sway me and go like, oh no, actually UK fish is all fucking stolen from the Caribbean. That'd be like, oh fuck that, I'm gonna stop eating my occasional monkfish. It's the only real fish I eat when I'm in a restaurant.
Just think of the blood shrimp.
The blood shrimp, man. And that's the other thing. Sorry, he goes to Thailand, where apparently they're all slave ships. People were working on fishing ships that are slaves. And he interviews a guy, and it seems like pretty fucking harrowing. It feels pretty bad. But it's just like, but then we got a tip off. The police were coming. And so we had to leave. And then they're driving away, and it's just like, what? Like again, it's just, you're just saying this. There's nothing like, who tipped you off? How did this process happen? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Can you have someone on camera saying, like your local guide saying, yeah, the police are coming? Like, it's just unconvincing to have a guy say, oh fuck, we had to leave then because the police were coming. And they have one shot of a car driving past them and like police sirens, and it lasts for like maybe 3 seconds. And if you aren't watching, you'll notice that you have to sort of look, but the car driving past is just a car. The police sirens are like in the distance. You just kind of see them together on the screen. The first time I watched them, it was like, that was the police driving by. But it was only the second time that I watched, I was like, wait a minute, that's just a fucking car. They just recorded a car going past and were like, the fucking police were after us. It's like, what the fuck? It's just, like, it's moments like that. You just talked to a fucking slave. You claim to have just talked to a fucking slave, and you were injecting this, like, lie, this bullshit into it to try and make some, like, try and make yourself like a fucking Jason Bourne action star.
Yeah. And that's the other thing of like the global problem, where essentially this film's like, no one should ever eat fish again. But when you have that focus, especially, as a UK viewer, that's something we can feasibly do in the UK, because I think we've got the highest percentage of vegetarians and vegans in the world. And like even fucking Iceland, which is like, by me, which is like the lowest of the low, shop-wise, like scum to most people. And like Lidl and Aldi they've got pretty extensive like vegetarian and vegan sections now, because it's like so normalized. But like the countries, especially like East Asia and Africa, like there are communities that are reliant on fishing, and like it's pretty much their only source of protein. And that was the thing with
They
my
go to one.
the what?
The Faroe Islands. They go to the Faroe Islands to see the grind, the whaling.
Yeah,
And it's like, yeah, the Faroe Islands are a fucking wasteland. It's the tundra. Shit does not grow there. They don't have trees, don't have animals. This is how they eat. Like this is their cult. Like, you know, there's a cultural element to it, and it's like they probably kind of really enjoy having that food, having that meat. You know, it's that sort of thing. It's yeah, I love that guy. He talks to some guy, and the guy just isn't having any of his bullshit, and is just like, if you want to be vegan, be vegan. But if you're going to tell me not to eat fish and you're eating any form of meat, go fuck yourself.
yeah.
Which is cool. I liked him.
But yeah, like my flatmate that I brought up, who's pescatarian because he's type 1 diabetic. Like, so, you know, doctors have said no, you should definitely keep eating fish because it's just like you need protein, and it's the best source of protein you're gonna get. And there are like alternatives, but still, from like, you know, most doctors and things, and the fact that it's like still a lot of people say eating fish every now and then is very good for you, and you know, protein is still an incredibly important part of humans' diets. I mean, that from an evolutionary perspective, the reason why, one of the theories of why humans essentially got intelligent was they started eating meat, which meant that the extra protein and energy could, you know, grow brain function and things. And the fact that the average height of humans and size of humans in the last sort of 300 years has absolutely skyrocketed is because...
Don't bring up height around me, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Don't.
Well, you know,
Oh, it's a very sensitive topic.
we're both sort of
imagine,
short.
imagine how short I'd be in fucking
Yeah, in like the
like
1700s.
17th century France.
Like
Oh, man.
if you were in the potato
5'1".
famine,
Oh man! Oh, don't even. Oh fuck!
you wouldn't have
Oh, man.
scraped 5 foot.
I mean, oh, I wouldn't have. And going over to America, hopefully, assuming I didn't die, going over to America for work, where people have been eating barbecue and they're all big boys, and going over and just being, oh. You see why Americans really latched on to the whole leprechaun thing? Maybe that's why. They're like, oh, all these Irish people are so fucking short.
They're just tiny.
Because we're just malnourished. Yeah, maybe. But just talking about the whole fish thing and doctors saying, yeah, eat fish for like nutrients and stuff. Did you see? I read an article about it like a while back, but there's like a YouTube, Instagram, vegan influencer kind of community. I don't know what you'd call it. And they were there's like a bunch of like big name vegans or whatever, and then in the course of like 3 months or something, like 5, I'm just pulling numbers out of my ass, but this is roughly the story, like 5 of the top vegan influencers were found to be eating fish, and it like caused like a meltdown in the community. Like people started freaking out, and people were like sending them death threats and shit and stuff like that. And in all of their cases, they were like, yeah, our doctor, like my doctor told me I was like severely anemic because I was eating nothing but fruit and like broccoli and like that isn't enough to live. And so he said you have to start eating some form of animal product. Yeah, it's just, I don't know.
Well, I mean,
but then the idea of like having to secretly, shamefully eat fish, and then if your job is being a fucking vegan influencer, having to lie to your adoring fans, live 2 lives, Jekyll and Hyde.
yeah. Like, I'm sure, like, there will be good enough alternatives, like, eventually. And, you know, there's, like, you know, fake burgers and things and laboratory-based meat could be really interesting. But these are like maybe 20, 30 years down the line, maybe not even that soon. So yeah, just like most people probably are going to have to eat animal products, especially what do you feed your baby? Milk.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that comes from women, Ben.
yeah, and women are animals.
Yeah. The strictly speaking, you're correct. So
Exactly.
No one can get upset. Like actually, ma'am, I'm being factually correct.
You don't have Instagram, do you?
No, I do not.
But I like posted on Instagram the other day. There was like I just stumbled across it. There was something from like Vegan UK, or what was it called? Like Angry Vegan or something. Accidentally Vegan UK. And they like posted a really angry thing, being like, I can't believe in the plant-based and vegetarian section there were chicken and plant burgers, and like if you got fooled by this, I'm so sorry. And I just sort of posted, how could you possibly, like, I feel really sorry for the people getting duped by this, whilst like zooming in on the picture of the chicken and the fact it says chicken burger. And it's just like, and just all the comments are like so angry, being like, I'm going to write to Tesco, this is an outrage, you shouldn't be putting chicken in the fucking plant-based and vegetarian section because it's not plant-based. And like, maybe it is, maybe there's more plants than chicken, who knows.
Yeah.
Even in the box,
but like that could be more of a solution, is like bulking out meat products with, because the one thing that pisses me off, you go first.
I was just going to say, I like admittedly I eat way too much meat. I'm trying to like be kind of good and pretty much mainly eat chicken because it's much better for the environment than pork and beef. Like, beef's horrible for the environment, but
pork is actually pork is fine.
I think
pork is similar to chicken. Yeah. Beef is the really bad one.
Yeah, beef's really bad. I think this is like one of, not quite a catch-22, but like battery farm chickens is like actually pretty decent for the environment. But like,
is it? I had no idea.
Yeah, so
probably because you're using fuck all space.
So like, it's an interesting one because like free range chickens are like quite tangibly worse for the environment. They're still not like, it's still nowhere near beef, but like free range chickens are worse for the environment than battery farm chickens. This is like the best. Where I found it out was like that Greg Wallace did a Horizon with Hannah Fry. What a weird combo, but I love it. Hannah Fry, sexiest woman in the world. I'm claiming that now.
Any relation to Stephen?
No, she's like a maths professor at UCL, so just does like loads of maths shows and stuff. I went. She did a lecture at University of Manchester once, and so I went to go watch that. And it was the same day I had a colonoscopy. I was that excited to go. I still went and watched after I'd had a colonoscopy.
After, if you had it before, like I wouldn't, like before it'd be like I need to cheer myself up before my colonoscopy. Afterwards is brave.
Yeah, well, that I originally thought I'm not going to go because I'm not going to be in a fit state. Colonoscopies, you recover fine. Before would have been worse because like you have to fast for 24 hours, and that's that's worse than the actual like colonoscopy. I think you have laxatives and you fast. The actual colonoscopy itself is genuinely, people talk about traveling as like opening up their horizons, opening up their minds. If you want to do that, have a colonoscopy, because you will see your own internal organs on a screen. That is an experience that I don't think you can you can't like comprehend that. Like,
I've seen more of the surface of the moon than my own insides.
Yeah.
I think how close my insides are, and think how far away the moon is.
Yeah, so it's like genuinely super surreal experience. Tube goes up your ass, but you're like watching it, and like it will take like samples, and
as it does.
It clamps down, but you don't feel anything. But you're like, that's inside me, and it's just like a trippy experience. So I genuinely like recommend it as like a way of. Don't get an endoscopy though, because I was like living in Manchester.
Is an endoscopy
down
mouth?
the throat? Yeah.
Oh, that actually seems like.
I've had 2, and it was worse the second time because I knew what was coming. Like the second one I had.
Tensed up and like.
Yeah, and you just you just gag like crazy. And the second one, I just had a nurse essentially like. I think her only duty was essentially to like stroke my hair and like. Dab my tears strolling out my eye because I was just having such a horrible like it only lasts like 3 or 4 minutes, but maybe not even that, but it's just horrible. And that's only 8 hours of fasting, but like the actual colonoscopy, because like there's like doctors there, you're just talking to them. I was trying to like just chat to them, and it's just like a weird thing.
To talk during the endoscopy?
You can talk during the.
Really?
I mean, what?
Can you?
Can
you talk with a tube in your fucking?
Oh
mouth?
no, colonoscopy. I mean, you can't talk during an endoscopy. No. But yeah, but I had to do it completely sober as well. Like most people, like get fucked on painkillers. Well, not painkillers, but like anesthetics. But because I was living in Manchester and had to get the bus home, I couldn't. So. But the Hannah Fry like Greg Wallace documentary, which was like, it wasn't even a documentary. It was just like it's like a cooking show kind of thing where they just got like Sarah Pascoe and Desiree Birch were one of them, and they would just like pick like a starter, main course, and a pudding, and we'll tell you like the environmental impact each like meal had. Just a kind of like a fun way of like doing it. And they talked about the battery farm thing, and I'm like, that's the fucking nuance I love of just like these things don't it's not like perfect. There's a trade-off. Like the one thing's better for the environment, but it's more morally questionable, like battery farm chickens, than free range chicken, which is worse for the environment but definitely probably morally better. And I think that's interesting, and because it came from like,
and it's this. Oh, sorry, you finished.
It came from a place of like, because it's Horizon, it's like science led. So, it's Greg Wallace just being Greg Wallace and being like, oh, that's really fucking interesting. As Hannah Fry is like, oh yeah, this has got loads of fucking methane. Just like, yeah, beef's really bad. Was basically the moral from that show is like, beef is fucked.
Yeah.
But I'd much like that was. I think better in terms of like giving sort of nuanced messages and like maybe changing people's minds and doing it in just like a fun, light-hearted way, but it was quite interesting.
Yeah, I think just the sort of what I said at the start is just that like when I think this applies to a lot of things, but when people are like really, really convinced of their like moral superiority. And, maybe other people are kind of less convinced, and there's this disconnect between like, in this case, you have to stop eating fish right now. And like, maybe there are sustainable ways of eating fish. When there's that disconnect, it seems like the sort of the moralizing people are willing to sort of just be misleading, sort of play fast and loose with facts, play fast and loose with the general narrative sort of thing. It's willing to sort of not include certain sources, willing to smear sources. I felt bad for the charities they talk to in these interviews, because that's where I think he really comes across like an absolute fucking knobhead. Is there was one guy who seemed like just quite open. He was talking about the dolphin safe tuna, and they did like dolphin safe accreditation, and he seemed like the way these interviews work is that they interview them for like 4 fucking hours, and then they get like there's some bite, clip it out, and they're gone. And like these things all generally happen towards the end. People are tired. There's like, no, fuck, like I just want you to, like, I'm tired of talking with you for like 2 hours, whatever. Um, and so that's when they're more likely to fuck up. And the guy just seemed pretty candid. Like, listen, it's an imperfect process. We send people on board. You know, they review the catch. We have a process. It's imperfect. Like, is it plausible that someone's cheating it? Yes. Do we try and make it so that people aren't cheating it? Yes. Can we like provide like a 1000% guarantee? No, because that's the way the world is. Can we apply guarantee a certain level of dolphin safeness? Yes, we can. And this is sort of clipped out as like they can't even guarantee that it's dolphin safe. I was like, this is a dude who's like probably fucking dedicating his life to, saving the dolphins. He probably gives a massive fuck about dolphins not being caught. And it's just presented as this like, wow, what a fucking knobhead, what a piece of shit, what a loser. And then similarly for the there's a canned fish of like a safe tick of like there's no bycatch, safe tick thing. And they interview someone, or no, he tries to get an interview with them, I think, and he fails or something like that. And there's just sort of this hand waving, like, well, the blue tick accreditation, they get most of their funding from companies paying for their accreditation. So they're paid by the fishing industry. It's like, yeah, they're an industry connected charity. Like, that's how that fucking works. It's like, you can't just say, oh, they're being paid by the fishing things. It's like, no, it's more detailed than that. Like, yes, if a particular study is being paid for a certain like or something like that, but like an NGO non-profit thing, it's like, no. Like, you need more. And stuff like that where the film is just like bullshit, wrong, and for every single shocking fact that is a fact that they present, like the fact that shark populations are down like fucking 80% minimum since like the 1970s. That's fucking shocking. But it's so hard for me to not just be constantly thinking, you fucking knobhead, treat these people with a modicum of respect. Treat them with the respect that you treat like a fucking salmon.
Yeah. No, I bet he mouth fucks salmon.
He does. You see, he Googles the way he fucking Googles shit. The way he Googles, he puts his HUD up and he was like doing like secrets. There's shots where they're like, oh, we're doing like secret Googling, like he's hacking into the mainframe. But yeah. It's like, what the fuck? Like it's moments like that where like this film is so dramatized. This documentary is so dramatized with like how shit like that. It's like fucking. You're Googling. Just I don't even need a fucking shot of you Googling. What a shitty documentary of like, yeah, here's me Googling something right now. Yeah.
But I think that's the thing, is like, because Louis Theroux as well is like so popular and successful, like people try and emulate it but just don't understand what Louis Theroux does as well.
I think I don't know. Do you think this was emulating Louis Theroux? I didn't really see that.
I think no, but in terms of like, there'll be elements of it where it's like trying to sort of interview and where the documentarian is like the protagonist.
Yes.
As well.
Okay,
like, it's not as like involved, but like if you talk about that kind of like investigative documentary where the documentarian is the protagonist, like that's pretty synonymous with Louis Theroux. Not saying this is trying to be, it's starkly different to like a Louis Theroux thing, but shoving yourself into it when you didn't have to be does feel like I'm trying to be Louis Theroux kind of thing. Yeah, especially when it's like that, where like a lot of the facts are just sort of Googleable. It's like presenting facts. You're not really finding, like, he went and found stuff out, but didn't really.
No, it didn't really at all, actually.
Yeah, as it's not like one sort of like comparing that to a documentary I listened to that's on radio that's really good is like the missing crypto coin. And It's like you know about cryptocurrencies. What's her name? It was like OneCoin.
I don't know about her, but OneCoin.
Yeah.
What is it? I know that there's Bitcoin, Ethereum.
But no, it was a whole massive like scam, as a lot of them were. But she just like disappeared off the face of the earth one day, and so it was just like this documentary being like, let's like try and find her, I guess. And it like works really well, because at one point they go to like a kind of like OneCoin conference with like loads of people like who would have known her are there, and there's like they're genuinely like, you know, it might have been like perfectly safe and fine, and nothing was ever gonna happen to them probably, but like they're still like, they were tense and uneasy, and they were like, turn off your like Wi-Fi, we've got to use like 3G in here because this is gonna, like, we just don't want to be tracked. And like it kind of like felt more because they are trying to find something out that isn't Googleable. You can't just Google where is the missing crypto coin, and they were, you know, they kind of put, but it makes sense for like the documentarian in that situation, because we want to feed off their curiosity and things, and that's where it doesn't work from it. Like, yeah, certain documentaries are biased, and that's like fine. Like I've watched, like, I really like YouTube videos about multi-level marketing schemes, and obviously they're biased. They're like, this guy's a cunt, and they're like evidence it and things, and I'm all really on board with that kind of thing. But that, yeah, I don't know, it just doesn't work as like a Netflix thing, like this thing.
Yeah.
And like
It's just
because
I just think it's a low quality documentary, but on a worthwhile topic and worth good points, and like I think, how should I put it? I think it would be a lot more boring if it was more nuanced.
Yeah.
Like, I think if they interviewed like people, I think it would be worse from that perspective.
It wouldn't. Like, it wouldn't be the most watched thing on Netflix.
Exactly. I think I found this interesting from at least a like this is clearly like, this man is just fucking lying about being chased by the police, and it's like interesting on that level. But yeah, like I just feel I feel like this is the sort of thing that's probably better suited to like a Newsnight or Panorama or CNN kind of thing, like a you know, it's only an hour and a half. If you got rid of the bullshit, it would probably be an hour. It's the sort of thing that could probably be condensed into a dry but informative news piece, and I think it would be better for it. I think it would be better from like a factual perspective. I think, yeah, maybe it would have less reach, you could say, but I don't know. I personally think that facts tends to trump other things, in my opinion. I think
you'd hope
I feel like that's an important thing.
The nature of the world at the moment is, I guess, like that's one of the things with like Twitter, is the tweets that get the most traction, the ones that are angry and emotive, and unfortunately like emotions and opinion unfortunately do trump facts. But yeah, like a Panorama, I need to watch more Panoramas. I always enjoy them when I watch them. But yeah, so if like a BBC had done a thing on this, it probably isn't UK centric, but like the BBC, you know, would probably you'd probably get an in-depth one about Scottish salmon farming, which would be interesting.
Do you know what would be really fucking good? It would be or do you know what's probably a better kind of like in terms of, I don't know, a planet Earth that shifts the focus, make it a little bit more about the environment. Because I know if you watch a thing of Planet Earth, it's like, here's some beautiful fucking animals, and then at the end there's like, by the way, all of these are fucking dying because of climate change. If it combined those BBC thing that combined that sort of footage with a stronger kind of presenter narrative kind of thing of being like, hey, fishing's fucked. And I think that would kind of combine interest and just being actually factual and good and kind of having this reach. Like, I don't think it's impossible to stick to reality and make something good and engaging. It's certainly maybe easier to just be like, fuck it, we'll say that we'll say fish are dying by 2048, and yeah, it's a bullshit study, but yeah, who gives a fuck? Maybe that's easier to keep things to gain a mass audience, but I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah, nah, agree. I could probably wrap it up.
Netflix should hire me.
Netflix should hire you.
Yeah,
it's like they do. Netflix do make some decent, like the Rotten series and stuff. I think is a lot more. Like I was watching after the Seaspiracy, when I watched one of the episodes of Rotten, which is about bit on like the Flint water crisis and Nestle in general, and like, you know, it kind of obviously has like, we want to tell you Nestle is fucked, but like does present it with like facts in the interview. It interviews like a range of people, so you know, it interviews someone on Nestle's side kind of, because it's, you know, it has an agenda, but it feels more nuanced and balanced than just presenting facts, and that's better. The problem is it's better for me to digest, but yeah, is it better for the amount of like traction and that Seaspiracy's brought, and it probably has like changed people's opinions.
Yeah. It is. I do think I would still like kind of recommend it to people, and just be like, just don't. Just when he's saying he's being chased by the police, he's clearly fucking lying. Keep that in your head. When he talks to the Greek man who says that he defines sustainable fishing for him and then says there's no such thing as sustainable fishing, and like be aware that there are people who like are scientists who disagree with him, and say no, like there's fishery science as a subject that you can do, and these people manage fisheries, certainly in the EU, probably in most, like Western countries, most countries of particular OPEC countries or whatever, you probably see that. But I think no. So I guess my feelings are mixed on it. I think I'd say the facts are good, but the things that are factual are good in it, but the documentary is kind of dog shit.
Yeah.
The documentary tying all those things together are dog shit.
And that's the thing. It's like you can separate the criticism from, the means from the ends kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense. I think that's a good place to wrap up. Maybe not.
Yeah, man. I think
maybe we haven't been fucking.
I think we've hit a.
Yeah, we've done a deep dive. Hey, that's deep like dive, water.
Water.
Yeah. That's a joke. That's our joke quota now. This is a comedy podcast. Who knows? It's good.
It's a lovely conversation.
Yeah,
that's all I give.
That's all it is, isn't it?
If we want to be funny, we should stop watching shit about documentaries about overfishing and instead, I don't know, watch some Hindi comedies and see what the fuck they're like. I don't know. Just reach out to the annals of Netflix and see what they have. But anyway,
figure it out.
Or just whatever.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it is quite interesting to watch the popular stuff because there's like, you get other people's takes on it. Like with that, you get like a New York Times article and stuff. As if we do watch some completely random thing, it's like who gives a fuck? Although it can be fun. Let's wrap it up. Last thing you want to say?
No, I mean, I think I'm a Gucci. Watch Crumb. That's a very good documentary about a cartoonist. If you're in the mood for a better documentary, watch Crumb.
I'm going to say don't watch it because we've got mice and crumbs are offensive to me. No, that sounds fine. I'm sure it's great. I'm babbling. Right, let's fuck off. Fuck off, audience. Fuck off, Rob. I'm
Bye.
stopping recording. Bye.